Welcome to another week of Experience Andy Wines Live. This is our opportunity to put 15 minutes into ourselves each and every week, and I thank you for joining me. A couple things. Let's get to the good stuff first. Moment of gratitude. So I the last 10, 12, 15 weeks, whatever it's been, sharing my moment of gratitudes has been towards people. And as I thought about it today, what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for live music. And I love going to concerts. I had the opportunity this weekend to see a play Friday night and to see live music Saturday night. And I'm forever grateful for the arts because of that. I often say, I don't need that, I don't want that. And yet it fills me up with so much joy watching artists on the stage. So I went to a musical, it was a 3-person musical, and watching the 3 people on the stage hit their notes, watching them where you could tell there was moments where they were no longer acting and they were being, right? Because something happened on stage versus movies, watching how the piano player really got into it. He's in the back and he's as much a part of the show as everybody else. And then Saturday night, I went and saw one of my favorite bands, Gaelic Storm, down in Chicago at the House of Blues, which is favorite band, one of my favorite bands and one of my favorite venues. And a couple of 3-4 songs into the first set with Gaelic Storm, the lead singer, Pat, looked out at the crowd and saw me and pointed. I pointed back at him, and a bunch of people around me were like, that guy? I've probably been to 50 Gaelic Storm shows, from seeing him at Irish Fest 20 plus years ago to seeing them 3 or 4 times a year between Irish Fest and they come through Milwaukee and Chicago every year around St. Patty's. And I always look forward to it. And I feel this renewed sense of energy. I get the energy from knowing the familiarity of the music and yet also watching the nuanceical stuff on stage. I get the energy from seeing somebody at their moment of greatness, right? Artists write music so they can perform music, and their level of vulnerability and transparency. I love seeing that. And ultimately, I love the fact that it brings people together. There's so many people I've met through the years at concerts that I see a few times a year, and I get excited to see them, and I get excited to meet new people, because for that brief moment of time, we're all connected and we're all binded because of a song. And music does have the ability to move us. And for that, I'm forever grateful for live music and live performances where you get this opportunity. I equate it to up on stage, the lead singer has an obligation and responsibility, and he has what he does. And for me, I feel like I have an obligation. I have an obligation to take in music and dance and interact with those around me. And we're both there doing what we do best, and that's when we get the best of it, versus a crowd that only just stands there. I am forever grateful for live music, and I love going to shows, and it reminds me how important that is for me to take that time to check out, not be on my phone, and be really engaged and intentional with the present. So live music, that's what I'm grateful for this week. Mechanics got to pay the bills here this week. So last week, someone asked me, they said, hey, read your blog every week. It's awesome. Where's the podcast? And I casually went to Taylor, our producer. I was like, hey, where's the podcast for this available? He goes, we don't have a podcast. So I was like, oh, we we will do something about that. So starting this week, we are going to be rolling out the podcast. It'll be found on andywines.com, and you'll be able to find it wherever you download podcasts, Apple, all that stuff. We're going to take this and rip it down into an audio version. That's really it. That's as simple as it is. And that way people can enjoy it in their ears without having to run YouTube or anything else or watch it off of LinkedIn. And I'm excited for that. When we started this 6 months ago, it was, hey, let's see what this thing sticks. And now 25, 26 episodes into it, this continues to challenge me and push me creatively. And I'm thankful that I have an audience that listens and pays attention and responds, whether the blog or the video. And now I'm excited to get some people online with a podcast. And for people that are watching here, an opportunity to review the material in a podcast form. All right, so let's get into what we're talking about today. So this all originated yesterday, Sunday. I was talking to our HR guy, and he asked me to take a personality test, which I love all of them. Myers-Briggs, PI, DISC, you name it, I love it, because I love me some data. It allows us to make data-driven decisions. And so what I realized in reading this, the opening line, I took this test yesterday. 16 personalities, I show up as an architect, which is INTJ. And this is the opening line of it. It says, are intellectually curious individuals with a deep-seated thirst for knowledge. INTJs tend to value creative ingenuity, straightforward rationality, and self-improvement. They are consistently working towards enhancing intellectual abilities and are often driven by their intense desire to master any and every topic that piques their interest. They're quick-witted. They have ability to think for themselves, not to mention their uncanny knack for seeing right through the phoniness and hypocrisy. And it goes on, and essentially says that people with our personality type for sure use data and analytics and thought, right? Rationale qualified information versus emotionals or feeling or being intuitive. And I found that interesting, and I love that about myself. I find myself, I do my best work when I can really dive deep into something, or whenever someone has a question of something, I feel the need to go on to Google and find the answer. I want the answer to the test. And then I think about, how does that show up in my daily life? What things have I done to also give that to others? So one of the things that I utilize that has been real popular when I used to do 6 buckets of business class. I did probably 12, 15 of them through the Idea Collective with Pat Miller in different forms, whether online or in person, whatever. I've done that speech, seminar, workshop 12, 15 times. And one of the things I often talk about when you're looking to get people to do something, you're looking to convince them to do something, to provide action, propel them, a 3-step methodology. And I may have talked about on this show in the past. Anyways, the 3-step methodology is to excite, inform, and then ask. And I've realized this works whether we are talking to customers, whether it's talking to your children, it's talking to your peers, right? Excite, inform, ask. 3-step methodology. And one of the reasons why this methodology works is because you're willing to give before you get. I often find myself reaching out to people really via text message often, or email, and I start with a question. Can you do this? And I'm not giving them any background. I'm not allowing them to catch up to where I'm at. I'm not painting a clear picture of what I want before I ask for the ask. And when I take the time to stop and say, okay, hold on, excite, right? So a real simple example in business, I'll give you excite. Hey, great to hear from you, right? When a customer reaches out to them, you want to get excited. Hey, thank you for giving us the opportunity to quote your business. Thank you for approving the quote. Something along those lines, right? You want to express gratitude, excite them. You want to meet them. Hey, you want to get this project done? Let's do that together, right? Excite them. Second thing, inform them. Give them the relevant information so that they know exactly they can anticipate what the question is and how or what to answer within the question. So the next thing is, so with business is real simple. We let them know information, right? Hey, we need to come out and do an estimate. Hey, we can schedule this job. Hey, we need some pictures in order for this to happen, right? Now I've given them context. And then the third part is the ask. When would you like us to come out? When is it available for you? When is the house closing? Are you able to send us pictures via email or text message? Something that's simple. And now we keep the conversation going. What I've seen in business with our new operations guy, I was scrubbing some of his emails, and he kept leaving emails open-ended. You'd see dialogue, and all of a sudden it would be like, they'd say, hey, we got to get a few more things ready, and then we'll let you know. And then he would come back, sounds good, please let us know. And it's but where are we at? There's an opportunity there to keep the conversations going. Even then, you can say, okay, sounds good. When do you want to get the project done? When do you anticipate having your answers? Or when would you like us to follow up? I had a gentleman reach out to me in December. He said, follow up in a month. I called him in January. He said, follow up in a month. I called him in February. He said, follow up in June. I have it on my calendar on June 15th to follow up with him. Respectfully, 6 months, fine. I'll follow up with him because I asked. You don't want me to keep following up with you, and yet you want your project done. Let's figure out when that time is. It is no different than our relationships in interpersonal, right? People ask you, or you reach out to someone, hey, I have an opportunity. I have tickets for this thing. I would love for you to join me. What does your schedule look like? Now you've built it up. You're willing to put yourself and be vulnerable. You're willing to share versus the, hey, what are you up to Saturday? And you have this ambiguity. It's, I don't know, what are we up to Saturday? It's a lack of confidence. I have tickets this week to a shooting event, the Ranger Ritfield, in support of Operation Finally Home. It's one of the charities that we support here at Camel Crew Junk Removal. And I have an event, and the rest of my guys on the team have an event. And I reached out to 3 people today, letting them know that I have a few tickets if they want to go shoot guns at my expense. And with all 3 of them, I laid it out very simple. And 2 of the 3 that got back to me right away knew exactly, the dialogue was there. It wasn't this ambiguous, like, hey, what are you doing Thursday? Hey, do you have plans on Thursday? Hey, I don't mean to be too much of a bother, but if you're not too, no, get right up front, right? Hey, this is the opportunity. This is what it looks like. Do you want to be part of it? Excite, inform, ask. And when you go with that, you have the confidence going into what your ideal end state is. So there's a very simple methodology. I've seen emails that are this long that could have been 3 sentences. Text messages where it's diarrhea of the mouth, where you have a question that takes up 14 lines of text because you're providing all this background. Get to the point. Yes or no, do you want to do this thing? Make it a very closed-ended question because you're very deliberate on what information you're looking for. And in order to make a very informative, deliberate, closed-ended question, you have to give the background and the context. And that's one of the challenges I even see in the dating world. I haven't really been dating in a number of years, and yet I watch stuff online, and you have these two people that are just dodging, or you hear about, oh, they're talking, chatting, and then they stop talking. So for fuck's sake, at some point, someone say, hey, I think you're attractive. I really want to go out with you. What does Saturday look like for you? Let's get to the fucking point. It's really that simple. Let's think about it at work, right? Maybe there's a promotion that is coming around the corner, or you think you're up for a good review, right? Walk into your boss and say, hey, I love working here. I want to move up the corporate ladder. What do I need to do different? I guarantee you right now, if one of my guys came in here and said to me that, I want to be part of this company, I want to move up and take on more responsibility, what does that look like to you, Mr. Boss Man? I would say, cancel my fucking meetings, shut down my computer, let's sit down, let's get to the whiteboard, and let's look at, right, next 30, 60, 90 days, start, stop, continue. Where are you at? Where do you want to go? How do we get there together? Like that. Now, we put things in place like that. We do reviews every 90 days. And yet, if an employee comes in off cycle and wants to have that conversation, let's fucking go. I'm excited, right? It can happen in your personal relationships with your significant other, right? Hey, this is what I want to get out of life. This is where I want you to be, right? What do we need to do to get there together? And now, instead of having these conversations that go like this with unmet expectations, we can get to the meat and the potatoes of the thing. So my challenge to you is get out there, express vulnerability first. Be very clear with where you are. Often, people want to have other people join them in their foxhole, join them in the shoes that they're walking in. You got to give people some perspective on where you're coming from first. When you start with a question, ambiguous, people are lost in the fucking battlefield of life and they're tempted to fucking stand in a landmine. This is your opportunity. Paint a very clear picture. Have the confidence to know where you're at and where you want to go. Allow others to join you in your fighting position, or join you in your shoes, and then you don't have to spend your time on the ass end, the back end of things, explaining your rationale of why. Confidently ask the question you want the answer to. And when you do that, the people around you will have a tendency to want to follow you because you are a leader in that moment. You made it very clear what your expectations are. You made it very clear what success looks like to you. You made it very clear what will fill your cup. When you do not do that, you leave people ambiguous. And when people are ambiguous, they have apathy. All of a sudden, it's, what are we doing here? That's why we have this generation of the quietly quitting. People that come into work and they're disinterested, they're disengaged, and yet you're not going up to them like, hey, employee, we like having you here. We want you to do well. What do you want out of your place of employment? What's the top priority to you? What do we need to do today so that you're going to be here in 5 years? Not, okay, hold on, they're good. Don't fuck with them. And when you have those conversations, you start removing all these ceilings that maybe people have in their own eyes. You start reducing this barrier and this stigmatism that we can't have an honest conversation, because we can. And when you start modeling that behavior, you'll realize how few words really matter. I'm a man of words, we know, right? Words fucking matter. Shameless plug. I love words. And what I realize is often the least amount of words is the most that are necessary. And when you use less words, you paint a very clear picture of where you're at, where you want to go, and what you need from the other person. So my challenge to you this week is very simple. Look at you as you interact with others, even to a certain extent yourself, right? What excites you? What information you need so you can ask yourself that question. What's stopping you from going where you want to go? What's stopping those people from joining you with where you want to get in life? So use this simple methodology. It can be used in text message. It can be used in email. It can be used in a phone conversation. Have a very clear end state. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, was one of the first books I read as an adult. And begin with the end state in mind is one thing that resonates with me every day. The 2 of the 7 lessons that I take away, I remember this. It said, hey, take of these 7 lessons, take 2 or 3 with you the rest of your life. Figure out which 2 they are. And so for me, it's been very simple. I knew then 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when I read the book, as I do now, which 2 or 3 lessons really resonate most with me. Sharpen your saw, which goes right in line with my INTJ personality type, that I'm consistently what is it said? Enhancing my intellectual abilities and often an intense desire to master any and every topic that piques my interest. That's why I do this. Every week I do this, I come up with a topic. Every week I challenge myself to sit here in front of the mic and say, do I have 15 minutes worth of relevant information that others are willing to listen to? Am I going to make a good use of 15 minutes of somebody's day today? That continues to challenge me. So I'm continually challenging to sharpen my saw. And then the second thing is to begin with the end state in mind. My end state for doing this show is to get out and get in front of people and share the information I have that I've been attaining through the last 40 years of my life so that I can make the world a better place. My why is very simple: to be so authentically myself that others feel the need to be themselves. This week, the opportunity is simple. Take the time to figure out who you are, figure out what drives you, and then fill in the gaps with the people and the methodologies that are a best fit for you, because it's not necessarily a strength. And this is the simple thing that is a strength of mine I give to you today. Excite, inform, ask. In all the communications you have, when you want to convince somebody to do something, when you want people to follow you, when you want to get more in a life, because you realize that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, bring others with you. This week and always, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the fucking thing. We're going to tell the fucking world. And we're going to show the fuck up. And we'll see you next week.